With Knopf AMF, a leading German company for high-performance ceilings, are pleased to invite you today to a panel discussion on the aesthetic and acoustic aspects of interior ceilings and wall systems. We are very happy to have this occasion once again in Delhi after a very successful networking and informative session which we had last year. We have some eminent panelists this evening, and they include architect Sanjay Wadhwa. He's the founder director of SWBI Architects, a name synonymous with corporate interiors and workplace design today. Sanjay has been a consultant to many corporates for framing their workplace design strategies, and his firm SWBI has developed design guidelines for many large corporations to be followed in the Asia Pacific region. We're very happy to have him with us. We also have architect Amit Arora. He's a partner and principal architect at DCA Architects, a 360-degree integrated design solutions firm offering services extending from design, execution, and management. Thank you for being here. Also is Mr. Ashok Ganju, Vice President Projects at Maple Consultants, and he is an engineer with a background in electronics and is a consultant for audio-visual systems and acoustics. Also with us is Mr. Teddy D'Souza, a mechanical engineer by qualification, and he's the operations head India and South Asia for Knopf AMF India Private Limited. He is responsible for changing the market perceptions of suspended ceilings as a commodity to a product needed for acoustics and fire protection. So thank you. And first, before we get started, I'd like to invite Alokika Parab from Knopf AMF to share a little bit about the company with you.
Everybody, thanks for being here on a long weekend. I would take you through a small journey of AMF. What is it all about? So, who we are? We have been present for more than for a long time now, and it comes from the house of Knopf corporate, which is a leading company in the building construction. AMF is a leading manufacturer of ceiling systems in Europe. We have strong brands Thermatex, Buildotech, Hera Design, a complete system for ceiling application. We started in 1963, and since then there has been no looking back. We've been expanding in the manufacturing facility as well as the markets. So that's the factory. The automated plant. And we have been just expanding to increase the production capacity. That's our production site, which is in Germany for mineral fiber ceilings, and Austria is the wood panels. We have markets in more than 90 countries across the globe. That's the latest plant in Germany. This is a wood plant in Austria. So what we have to offer, we have a corporate brand Knopf AMF and the sub-brands Thermatex, Buildotech, Hera Design. Thermatex is a mineral fiber products. Buildotech is a grid system. Hera Design is a wood boards. So our expertise lies in sound protection, Fire protection, health and hygiene with respect to the indoor air quality and people occupying the space. Material and design, and sound and light which can be integrated with the ceiling systems. Sound protection with respect to the acoustic comforts that one needs in the area. So apart from absorbing, there is also the insulation or attenuation which plays an important part. So we have noise absorption range up to 1 nRC and insulation up to 44 dB, which is a pretty amazing range. Fire protection, one of the important aspects in the building. We have fire protection or say fire resistance up to 120 minutes. Health and hygiene with the emissions, VOC emissions, indoor air quality, clean room specifications. For hospitals or healthcare, we can have antibacterial, antimicrobial coating. Material and design, most of the designers would be interested in this, like apart from white normal ceiling, what can we offer? So the customized prints that you want. And the sound system, which is an integrated sound system in the ceilings. So you don't see the speakers protruding out. Mineral fiber range as mentioned, so which is again a 100% natural product. It is made from biosoluble mineral fiber or mineral wool, which is derived from basalt rock, perlite, clay and starch from potato and corn. Fire protection, because clay gives this property of fire protection. Buildotech is a grid system or suspensions, and Hera design, which are wood panels for ceiling as well as walls. And it has a lot of other possibilities to use in an interior setup. It can be colored at site, it can be cut at site in a desired shape, can be used as baffles, as floating elements, rafts of desired shapes, wall absorbers. Okay. So does this all come at any cost? No. We are a completely green company. So even the products are all green products. The manufacturing process is also a green process. There is absolutely no wastage. It's a closed loop cycle. Environmental friendly products made in an environmentally friendly process. We would like to talk about Blue Angel, which is one of the members of Global Ecological Network. It certifies a product for almost negligible VOCs, emission of VOCs, which guarantees that your indoor air quality is safe for the people occupying the space. We comply to the LEED certifications. Some highlights or some highlighted products, which is SF Acoustics. It has a modern, with a conventional suspension system, what I can achieve aesthetically is an elegant and modern appearance. What it gives me is a high NRC and high insulation value, which is more important for privacy or avoiding the sound transfer from one area to another. So a very good product for cabins or meeting rooms where you need to maintain confidentiality. mentioned that we have a range of NRC and sound attenuation values. Sonic elements or suspending elements which can be concave, convex. It can be painted, it can be printed. Customized sizes. So the sonic elements, again, any shape is possible. So all this not only comes with the colors, but we can do the desired print as well. Sonic Sky, again, very effective solution where you would want to have these floating systems. Wall absorbers, which are mainly for the areas where there are more reflective elements and I need to add on something more for the NRC, for the acoustic comfort. So, gives an aesthetic as well as a modern contemporary look. We have a tile which is 100% RH or say a washable tile. It complies to your clean room standards, high NRC value, and this is mainly for kitchen areas or sanitary areas where there are problems of staining and you need to clean the ceiling. I can use it for indoor swimming pools also because it is 100% washable. Line is a range of products which has a print on the fleece, so I can have a metallic print to give you a metal effect, a wooden print or a customized print, supported by fire protection, acoustics, wooden finish and metal finish. Hera design are the wood boards for ceiling as well as wall systems. It has humidity resistance, it has acoustics and the aesthetics. Comes in 5 different finishes. It is an impact resistant board, so I can use it for gyms and indoor sports areas also. Some reference images. These are the sites done across the globe. We can do planks which can go up to 2500 mm at a one stretch. So if you are looking at a monolithic look, mainly for corridors. Backers of Hera design, wood boards. Board also allows you to inscribe something that you want to do if you see the ceiling. It gives you a flexibility to use it with freedom. Theaters, auditoriums, hospitality, thank you. Thanks for your time and attention.
Thank you, Alaukika. And now I would like to request architect Vadva to please come on stage and make his presentation. Just for those of you who came in, the architect Sanjay Vadva is the founder director of SWBI Architects, a name synonymous with corporate interiors and workplace design today. Please.
Good evening, friends. This topic which is there today, ignoring the obvious, it's a very interesting topic because you always tend to ignore the obvious, and it's a very natural thing to happen. And our job as interior architects, designers, is to ensure that whatever we are doing does not ignore the obvious. What I'm going to talk about today is in context with the corporate interiors and workplace design, which we've been doing for the past many years. I'll try and bring references of today's discussion, which is the acoustics and how the design and the acoustics and corporate interiors are merging together. In some of the panel discussions happened past 1 month, 2 or 3 panel discussions where industry professionals sort of got together in various forums, and we discussed the future of workplace design. And why I'm bringing today this discussion is that the workplace design and the acoustics play a very important role together. They dovetail into one another. One cannot be separated from the other. So it's important to identify how people are working today in order for us to give solutions which addresses their key concerns and their aspirations. So identify what people expect and are expected to do. Workplace today is becoming so competitive. Everybody is expected to do multitasking. No one is chained to their desk anymore. And so these questions will sort of bring us to the point of what we need to create for them. So this is what most of the office workers, and we've been working with large corporations across the country, and particularly, even beyond India and various Asia Pacific countries. And we have done several surveys as part of our workplace consulting strategy design. And some of the questions always come up that what do I need to do today? These are the questions which people ask themselves and their real estate and facilities managers who are the stakeholders for design. Why should I work at my desk? When do I do my best work? Where do I want to work today? Every day, not the same task which is supposed to do. And with whom do I need to get this done? And how can I do this better? So understanding of these is very important. And before we arrive at what are the materials or how the spaces have to be shaped, and what are the performance parameters which we need to create for them in terms of high-performing spaces. So work culture, as I'm mentioning here, has become very democratic, very egalitarian, and as a response to accomplish tasks is becoming increasingly instinctive and intuitive, which is what we call as giving power of choice back to people. It is not that a few senior management folks decide how people are going to sit and how they're going to work. So power of the place drives the new design, which means that we identify how people like to work, their preferences to answer what and how we need to create. So this is a basic, what we call as a balance of place, and it's a framework within which people they feel good about their work environment and they perform different tasks allocated for them. There are 4 different tasks which everybody does in an office, and our job as a designer is to create the balance between the various closed offices, open landscapes, chance meetings, actors and all that. The first is the focus and concentrate, where it's a heads down work, me and my space, me and my computer. The second point is the collaboration, where they want to meet with people, smart people like themselves, to brainstorm ideas. Third is learning, very important to improve your skill sets while you're working in an organization. And the last but not the least is socialize. Otherwise, people today will be very happy working from home with all the technologies available to various corporations. And so they come to an office in order to do all the 3 things other than focus and concentrate. And some of us have started calling an office even a club, a work club, because that's where people like to just come, socialize, exchange ideas, and so on and so forth. So we create a balance of place which drives the new design. And here what we are talking about is that convergence of people's aspirations and business goals. Every project has its budget, not just for CapEx. Some of the fancy products which she has shown are great. We as designers would love to use them, but there's always a budget. And particularly in India, being a very price-sensitive market, this becomes. So our job as a designer is really to create a balance between what people want, their aspirations, and business goals of the organization. If we understand these two and we help them converge, we know what the solution would come to. Workplace, this is a new terminology a lot of my clients and colleagues are using. It's a fun factory. I used the club before, but it's also a fun factory. Workplace is all about feeling of well-being, and that's where actually today's discussion dovetails, where happy and healthy workers is good for business. All of us know that. Almost all the leading organizations are investing to achieve this objective and create a place which is daylit, enjoys external views, has high quality of indoor air quality, good lighting, and acoustic comfort. Acoustics is a very invisible devil. We all understand this gives us glare or does not give us glare. The aesthetics, you may have spent some money for the lights because it looks fancy. But how many of us or how many of our clients are ready to invest a good amount of a good amount of project budget towards the invisible element called the acoustics, which plays a very important role in the well-being. And of course, 2 or 3 further points about physical and mental health and so on and so forth. So these are, if we map today's trends and mapping of trends across industry types, whether it's in IT, whether it's manufacturing, service industry and all of that, and through different demographies and cross cultures, whether it's in Europe, India, or the Americas, there are 5 key trends which we know and we have been able to identify which are happening today. And acoustics is very important there again. So first aspect is open plan office culture. When you want to have privacy, acoustic as well as confidentiality, other people would typically 10 years back would get into their own private offices, shut the door, and able to concentrate with the heads down work. That is not happening today. Whether it is Microsoft CEO or whether it's Michael Dell in Dell or Facebook, who is meeting tomorrow or today, I don't know, whenever, Mark Zuckerberg. So all of them are actually sitting in an open desk. And definitely open landscape has become the norm. And whether it's fashionable or not, how much is going to work, that the cycle will tell us some time. But today it's a norm, it's a given that if not 100%, but at least 95% of the offices are in open landscapes. Second is heightened and increased space for collaboration. People have to meet more often than we realize, and it's not necessarily in closed offices. It is happening more and more in open landscapes, chance meetings, accidental encounters. That is a norm today and is going to increase. Third is every space is becoming hard-working space. It's a multi-thread space. Real estate costs sort of skyrocketing and increasing every year. You cannot just mark out the area for a canteen, so-called, The canteen is now transformed itself into a work cafe. So, and then you have town halls. So hard-wired and sort of hard finishes also are required for cafeterias for maintenance. At the same time, they need to be AV ready for addressing 200-300 people. So that's where high performance materials comes in. AV enablement is today, none of the offices, whether it's a private office or a meeting room or a collaboration space, can happen without AV enablement, which brings in its own nuances of active devices. Towards the end of this presentation, I have a small one slide, which is an exchange of emails between us and a client for a recently concluded project. Project went out extremely well, but almost all the meeting rooms, they had issues of the sound, and that to do with teleconferencing and so on. So that is included a slide only to bring to attention that clients are becoming very aware, and it is not just about the paint or the polish or the color, which is important, but it's also the well-being and acoustics being an important part there. So well-being is key too. So these are the 5 key elements which are really required, and acoustic performance really the foundation, I would say, a pivot on which the entire workplace strategy of large corporations hinge upon. If we are able to have a balance between these 5 spaces and they work well, the workplace strategy which we design on paper actually gets implemented. But if acoustics is not given the right sort of impedance or importance in the initial planning stages, it can lead to a huge issues going forward. In this presentation, I'll just take you through some of our projects which we have done in the last couple of years, and which I talked about 5 key elements, the 5 trends which we are witnessing today in the workplace design, and it's mostly a visual sort of, So this is today's landscape open plan offices. You've got call centers, you've got IT spaces, you've got research and development areas, 30,000 square feet, 40,000 square feet, 60,000 square feet, single plate. In fact, we've done a project in Chennai a couple of years back where the single plate was 600,000 square feet. That was 6 lakh square feet was a single plate. So just imagine 6 lakhs divided by 100 will be how many people? I don't know how many, 60,000?
6,000.
6,000?
Yeah.
No, 6 lakhs divided by, okay, yeah. So imagine the amount of people which are going to be working there, and so that's the key challenges of how we specify high performance materials. Lighting, of course, is very key, but that's not the topic of today's discussion. This is another office for Cisco we had done a couple of years back. If you find all the elements of the lighting, the high quality acoustic performance ceiling, of course the standard grid here. The visual which I had shown earlier, I would just take a minute. This was a cafeteria for a project called Kane Energy here, where we had this wave in the ceiling, because the theme was, I don't know how much time I have really. The theme was underwater. The name of this cafe was Submarine. So though we wanted a sinusitis curve, which is terrible for acoustics, but then we lined it up with high performance ceiling, if you see this one, top acoustic material, so that lines up. So while we are able, there are products available today with a big price tag though, and which help us do what we want to achieve. Very interesting slide which I want to show you. This is called, if you can read it, it's called Audio Privacy Room, APR. That's a term Cisco uses to define their workspace, define their private offices. These are unassigned rooms and they're only called APRs. Extensive testing of these rooms that's done to get to the reverberation time, to have the voiceover, what type of, that you were showing me all this range of products, 0.9. 10 years back, people were not even aware of 0.5, 10 years maybe, India's not so bad. Maybe 20 years back, people were just using 2x2 tiles without really going into the NRC. So all these projects, look at this wall paneling, it's all high quality acoustic panels. So this is where awareness is reaching today. Another example of open plan office where this is a metal ceiling and it's got 0.95 NRC. So this is the norm today. Various projects show you the type of ceiling systems, baffles over the collaboration areas. As you can see, this wood line baffle, which is acoustical, suddenly from 0.7 in this collaboration area where people are going to talk more, the ceiling profile changes and it has at least 0.9 or 0.9 NRC ceiling there. How do we address a lot of, this is bad news for ceiling manufacturers where the trend is becoming more and more towards open, no ceiling whatsoever, So Google, Facebook, this is a project we did for Times Internet, 7-story building where none of the floors had false ceiling. So challenging, but somehow one was able to resolve the acoustic issues. First, of course, is awareness of what the problems would be, and then second is the solution. Collaboration, so I talked about collaboration getting intermixed with the work areas. Look at the way we have done the baffle ceiling, and suddenly the noise level is controlled. The floating ceiling is becoming very popular, which I just talked to you about earlier, that you have, I don't know what was the name you were showing me in your presentation, which was sky screen or something. Sonic sky. So I was not aware of the technical term, but yeah, so this is how we are able to combine completely open grid ceiling with drop ceilings, suspended ceilings over the work areas, and you are able to get height in another location. These are some small pictures of a recently concluded project, very large project, which we did for Adobe in Noida, where we had large atrium in the center, and we had collaboration areas, work areas all around. The slides are a little misleading. These are two different images. So this is a 7-story north-lit central atrium, which is not only brings natural light and has a lot of greenery in the central space, and the lower 4 or 5 floors are all open. We don't have glass. So you can imagine each plate is about, I think, 50,000 square feet. So without any enclosures, still by using certain elements of acoustical products design, it's a very successfully delivered project. Collaboration can be one-to-one, can be sort of in a bigger group. These are interesting products called Boozy Wings. They hang from the ceiling. So we've sort of combined it along with 2 seats, and besides doing an enclosure of a territorial demarcation of the space, they also help in acoustics. That's the picture of another collaboration spot where the ceiling and the carpet changes to different values. This is how the collaboration areas, social hubs, etc. are. And acoustics definitely continues to be your suspended ceiling elements. So this is how, as designers, we are trying to balance the need of a little forward-looking design, or I would say fashionable design, while balancing the needs for well-being. Another shot of the collaboration space. AV enablement, very, very important, whether it's in an office, enclosed meeting room, or in an open plan, how one is able to solve, and we need to look at that. Telepresence rooms, every project, whether it's Polycom, whether it's Cisco, every project has to have 1 or 2 of these telepresence rooms, again with an acoustical board at the back, and we're able to do. This is an example of cafeteria done many years back, or 10 years back, our office, where you have a lunch session for half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours a day, but lot many times you pack away the chairs and the tables, and it's converted into a town hall. So the ceiling and the walls, the wooden things, are actually very high performance and highly maintainable material. In a cafeteria, you can't use fabrics and other stuff which can get easily soiled. So these are wipeable, washable acoustical panels. Another example of a cafeteria where high performance baffle seating was used to include the function of town hall. Booth seating on the corner gives you another acoustical values, the kind of structure it has. Multi-purpose spaces where your training rooms become banquet halls, or banquet halls become town halls. So every space is a hard-working space in order to optimize the real estate cost associated with it. This was an interesting episode which took us about a month to resolve. So there was a significant portion of, I'm not sure whether you can read, this was an email exchange between our office and the client. Nicely done meeting room, as you can see. On the left hand side is the video conferencing, and an 8-seater, well placed. But the reverberation time, little bit we know that these will create problems. And so this is the level of detail. They were not chasing us for deliveries, they were not chasing us for any other snacks and other architectural details. They were chasing us for acoustical performance of these rooms in a AV mode. So towards the last of my presentation, fortunately today the products there's a plethora of products available to us, and whether it's Hera Design, AMF, several others, starting from ceilings to walls to baffles, very interesting, which combine both the aesthetics and the acoustical properties. So the designer does not have to necessarily use a gypsum board with square holes, and the industry has moved forward. And so these are the products, and these are really the ready-made solutions which one is deploying in several projects, which is either a sort of telephone booths where you can just go inside a booth and have a conversation, or a meeting, open meeting spots, quiet corners, or a circular meeting, standing meeting. You don't have to construct 4 walls in hard walls. These are just removable Tabunas is the brand name. And so, you know, the industry is there supporting it. We need to work towards creating a solution, look towards the clients to get the right sanction of the budget and plan ahead in time. So this is towards the end of my presentation. If you have time and patience and inclination, though not directly connected, I have a very nice video which talks about the future of workplace and how people are not future, today's workplace. I'll let this talk. High performance materials are integrated with how workplace design is emerging today. Is the volume not there? Okay, never mind. Yesterday, the typical queue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very informative presentation and that wonderful video which kind of sums it up quite well. So we're going to leave questions, comments for the end after we've heard all the speakers. So next I'd like to also invite our next presenter, Architect Aurora. He could come on stage and give his presentation. He's the partner and principal architect at DCA Architects, a 360-degree integrated design solutions firm.
Hi, good evening, and thank you so much for being here and for having me here. And thank you, Mr. Wada, for a brilliant presentation, as always, inspiring and teaching everyone around you. So we at DCA, we are a very small boutique firm doing very small boutique projects. Challenges remain the same. So, and we ignore the obvious. We don't. So I'm going to run through 4 of our very recent projects across different topologies, and just share how we created problems for ourselves and how we solved them, especially regarding to the topic of today, which is acoustics. So every space has different requirements, and as a designer, we stretch ourselves to a limit to create something new, create something unique, create something challenging. But at the same time, all issues need to be resolved, and acoustic is the most important part today. Most invisible, of course, but you can walk into a best of restaurant, a best of ambience, absolutely avant-garde, cutting-edge interiors. And when you're sitting there, you realize that there's so much background chatter. You can't enjoy the music, you can't enjoy the food, you can't enjoy anything because of the sheer background chatter, because all the beautiful interior services you see amongst the absolutely so many top-end restaurants today, but the chatter kills it all. So, as I said, we're going to run through different typologies of projects that we have done in the recent past. So the first project I'm sharing is a small boutique office in Sultanpur. Actually a part of a warehousing shed. So I'll just run you through the images which talk about, we have a double height space, no false ceilings, areas under half mezzanine, limitation of heights, all the services to be integrated, so on and so forth. So just running through a visual presentation of the project. And so all the different spaces, there are private spaces, there are, on the right hand side is actually a cafeteria, some training room, conference room, the CEO's office, and as I said, the whole brief given was to create something very funky, very young, no false ceilings, no exposed materials, no high finishes. So how do we, but as the challenges that are there for a 600,000 square feet plate are the same in this 3,000 square feet plate also. We have spaces, it's a young firm. Everybody, they got designers who are doing design of they're basically a lighting solution firm. So they're designing lighting, they're interacting with architects, they're entertaining people like us. They're doing marketing, they're doing sales, they're doing negotiations, they're doing everything. So how do we tackle the acoustics here? And I'm just going to focus on the acoustics here. So I think it's like, it was a factory shed, as I said, so we had to insulate the asbestos ceiling, the corrugated sheet ceiling that we had on top of it. So what we did was we used nitrile rubber there, which solved the thermal insulation problem, as well as gave us a decent amount of acoustic properties. Followed with the use of carpets, fabric boards, I think which are all calculated actually in detail to create the right solutions. And then another element that we used very interestingly there was the cement board, which we used for false ceilings, for wall panelings, because we were doing partition between their warehouse and all that, as well as on furniture. Although all the cabinets, modules, we used a whole lot of cement board. So using these elements, we created the kind of look, the industrial feel that the client wanted, but also in the process solved the whole acoustic challenge of the place and created a workplace where all the multifaceted functions of that organization were being met. Now moving on to the next I'm going to share is the restaurant. Again, I was mentioning a restaurant in the beginning now. Restaurants today are more than just restaurants. We don't go out to just eat, we go out to do business, we go out to enjoy, we go out to socialize, we go out to like, I think. So we did this place in the heart of Khan Market. Of course, I'm going to again run you through images. So it had the whole, we got this beautiful place which, and Khan Market, as you know, was built in the 50s. So it was reminiscent of the newly independent India with a heavy colonial hangover. So Khan Market has this character which, again, as a brief, we wanted to exploit, to enhance, in fact, to take it to a different level, the whole experience. Used, again, a very grunge look, very industrial elements used, anything. And now we have this, I just run you through the images, so this is what the whole project looks like. So as you can see, obviously no false ceiling, all hard surfaces, cement floor, terrazzo floor, hard walls, with full terrace. Terrace, thankfully, it gives us less of an acoustic challenge, so we can get away with model there. So, and the biggest challenge was the central hall, where we had a beautiful height, huge volume, where above the bar, I'll just go back to certain images, where above the bar we actually created a deck where all the performances happen. And now the performances take the acoustic requirement to a different level altogether. You are playing high decibel music, one day you're having a EDM night, one day you're having a Sufi music night, the other day. So acoustic requirements really stretch you. And we had to justify the look. And initially when we started the project, we all had in our mind, that we were going to use cork board and we were going to get away. But when we actually, so midway to the project, we were doing our calculations and everything and meeting with the sound people and everything, and it's not giving us the required absorption. And we were running at the scale, and the first solution everybody was throwing out a ceiling there, but obviously doing acoustic ceiling in a project like this would have simply killed the whole thing that we had created, and we were in the process of creation and everything. Luckily for us, we came across this polyester fiber board, which, as you can see the color, simply matched the color of the grunge look that we were creating in the project. We were lucky to have cordless material. We did false ceiling wherever required, especially above the stage. We did the cladding on the columns like that. And once the project was done, nobody could even make out where was actually the distressed plaster and where was this fiber board used. Moving on to the next project, which we have very recently done, is a retail project in south of Mumbai. One of the initial department stores in the country called Akbar Ali's, taken over by a new next generation, got relaunched. And now this was a space which over the years they had put in a full mezzanine, the heights were low, layers of renovation had been done. And now we wanted to increase the volume, we wanted to increase the make it young, make it vibrant, appeal to today's generation. Again, a very industrial look. No false ceilings, heights were really low above and below the mezzanine. Lots of hard surfaces again, cement floors. On the mezzanine we used checkered plates straight away on the structure. We reclaimed a lot of wood out of the paneling in the project, so we used that in floorings at places. All the furniture, all the partitions were done in metal. Everything. What do you do in a scenario like this to control the acoustics? So again, there's a music playing in the store, you have a salesman pitch happening, people are discussing among themselves. How do you solve the acoustics here? Thankfully, we don't have to do much here. Purely because the garments themselves act as phenomenal sound absorber, and we did all the analysis, we did all the reading, everything, and it simply worked. And here we actually literally got away with murder. Created the, absolutely every surface is hard, but there's so many garments around that. So going on to my last case study, where we did a small seminar hall for our College of Traffic Management. And here, as the requirements, it was a seminar hall, and here we had to work as per the rule book. So we did everything as per the rule book: acoustic ceiling, acoustic wall panels, carpets, and whatever the consultant said, we followed it to the T, because this was one place where we could not take any chance and tried to. So this is where I would end my small presentation with, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Architect Arora. If I can now request Mr. Kanju to please make his presentation. He's the Vice President Projects at Maple Consultants and is an engineer with a background in electronics and is a consultant for audiovisual systems and acoustics.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My pleasure tonight. I have a brief presentation about the basics of the acoustics. And as the subject says, ignoring the obvious, acoustics is a subject basically which obviously, earlier we didn't have much of the concept of acoustics. We're not using much of acoustics. But now with the increasing, the concept, the acoustics is being followed, and it's being followed by almost in the new all these projects now. We at Maple Consultants, we provide services for acoustics, audiovisuals, lighting control, automation, IT, and electronic security. This is the area of expertise where we do. And now I start with the subject. Well, if we consider, the scope of work for acoustics, first of all, acoustics is to limit the noise pollution from external sources and from activities within the building. That's the internal noise. Insulation of airborne sound between the spaces. Insulation of impact sound from floor to roof. Create appropriate reverberation time and circulation spaces. Articulation index inside the spaces for better speech intelligibility. Insulation of internal and external ground vibrations. Apart from the noise, vibrations is also attributed to the subject. Now sound. Sound is traveling wave which is an oscillation of pressure transmitted through any solid, liquid or gas, comprising of frequencies within the range of hearing. The frequencies perceived by the human ear could be 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Similarly, if you see the sound pressure level is measured, it's in decibels, and the reference of sound pressure is taken 2 into 10 raised to power minus 5 pascals. That's the minimum, which is equivalent to 0 dB. And then as you increase, if you see the threshold here, from 0 dB, then if you take the broadcast studio inside the broadcast studios, we have 20 dB. We should have the minimum. The design criteria should be 20 dB sound. Then in the recording studios, it would be 30 dB. If you take the bedrooms, it should be 40 dB. Any quiet office which we consider should be under 50 dB, and so on. And now, when we design the acoustics, the purpose of acoustic control is to limit the noise pollution from external sources as well as the noise within the building, the noise generated by various services. It it can be categorized into three different things. One is the internal noise, that's the service noise, noise from equipments and general noise. External noise, which can be due to the traffic, railways, aircrafts, or any other environmental noise. And then the internal and external vibrations. Internal noise again, if we identify these are the areas from where it can get generated. HVAC is one of the factors. Then in a quiet room, we have fans. Also, the fans won't be much, wherever we have HVAC, but again, we consider it as a point. Then light, even the light fittings, if you see the chokes or the ballasts, they also generate some kind of humming noise, which is again considered. Refrigerators in some areas. DG sets, it's again one of the major factors which generates noise within the buildings, especially in the projects wherever we have DG sets, either in the basements or on the top or rooftops. Then again, cooling towers, many projects we see cooling towers are again a part of the building. The pumps used for in the hospitality sector, basically pumps and other things they use, and they are generally in the service areas, either in the basements or in any floor. Plumbing noise is again a very major factor, especially in the hospitality sector. External noise, again the sources here, it can be heavy vehicular, traffic noise, the railway noise, the nearby railways, aircraft flight paths or properties which are very near to airports, any kind of environmental noise, and it can also be due to rain or any hailstorm noise. This is a small illustration which shows the external noise propagating inside the area from outside to inside. Part of it gets transmitted inside the rooms, and part of it gets reflected, and part of it is even absorbed. The ambient noise levels, ideally, if you see ambient noise levels for both internal as well as, considering both internal as well as external noise. In public spaces, it should be about 40 dB. Guest rooms, it should be 27 dB minimum, which is very difficult to achieve. The 45 dB. Guest rooms during the daytime, it should be 32 dB. Meeting rooms or meeting facilities, it should be 35 dB. And leisure and fitness, it should be about 40 dB. These are some of the standards. Now, internal vibrations is again one of the factors wherein, which is again related to the same subject. The stronger the solid, like the structure, we're talking about the structure, better will be the ability to conduct the vibrations within the structure. Vibrations once created in the building are transmitted through the structure like beams, walls, etc. and it can lead to other harmonics. Some of these harmonic frequencies lies in the audible range and thus giving rise to increased noise criteria values inside the building. Sources again can be same what we discussed earlier. Low frequency subwoofers, which is especially in places like banquet halls or even nightclubs or maybe in some restaurants. Then DG sets again, almost in all buildings or properties we have. Cooling towers, chillers, pumps, and air tubes. So these are all the sources, which can create vibrations. External vibration can be due to the movement of heavy vehicles and nearby underground, elevated, or metro tracks also, or even the railway tracks also. We have observed in many of the properties, which are coming close to the railway tracks or wherever the metro is now planned or is passing by. We have observed in such properties that the vibrations, the external vibrations, they are very prone to external vibrations, and they have to be treated, and the cost for treatment is quite heavy for this. Now, noise criteria. Noise criteria is used for rating indoor noise, noise from air conditioning equipment, etc. NC is a graph and not a number. The noise is in different types of rooms should not exceed the noise criteria set limits. The next slide shows the noise criteria curve. If you see on this side of the graph, you have very quiet to quiet. This is between NC 20 and NC 30, which when we transform it in terms of dB, so that will be about 27 dB to about 37 dB. So that's considered to be in the very it's considered to be around the very quiet zones. And then as you move up, you have moderate noise to noisy levels. That is from NC 40 to NC 50, which would be about 47 to 57 dB A-rated. And very noisy would be about 67 dB, and extremely noisy goes when the ambient noise is more than 77 dB. Now, recommended noise levels in the individual rooms or suites, if you talk about hotels, it should be about 32 dB to 42 dB. Banquet rooms, again, maximum should be about 42 dB. Service and support areas, 47 to 52 dB. Halls, corridors, and lobbies, 42 to 47 dB. Now, in the offices, conference rooms should be, typically it should be 32 dB. Private rooms, again, 37 dB. Open plan areas, 42 to 47 dB. And business machines, computers, the service area should be 47 to 52 dB. This is again, the noise chart, recommended NC ranges for various indoor facilities, which includes like concert halls, it should be 20 dB. Although these are the international standards which are very difficult to follow. Here in India, we are not able to achieve these results. And this is as per the international standards. So NC 30 is something which we are right now achieving here. NC 30 means about 37 dB, which goes for auditoriums, theaters, and then bedrooms, again NC 35, private rooms 35, NC 35, lobbies, drafting, engineering rooms, NC 45, 40 to 45, kitchens, which are kitchens and laundry, which is the most noisy again. It's about 45, NC 45 to 55, NC 55. Reverberation time is again one of the most important factors when we talk about the acoustics, because that determines that what kind of intelligibility the room would have. The reverberation is nothing but the persistence of sound in a particular space after the original sound is removed. So it's taken, the reference is taken in terms of RT60, reverberation time RT60, defined as the time required in seconds for the average sound in the room to decrease by 60 dB. That's a sound wave from the source, the time taken from the source to the area where it gets reflected. It should get decayed by 60 dB. So if we have a sound source of say about 90 dB somewhere, and the time taken to reach it to 30 dB, that is 90 minus 60, that's what the reverberation time is. So the lesser the reverberation time, the lesser will be the echo, and the speech intelligibility will be lower. The reverberation time of a space is directly dependent on its volume. It depends on the volume, how big the room is, and inversely to the amount of absorption. So, and it depends on the kind of absorption the room should have. This is how the reverberation has been given: sound source to the listener, and then the reflection back. So it travels from the sound source to the listener, so it has to get decayed, the sound wave has to get decayed by 60 dB. The time taken for decaying of 60 dB is the RT. A reverberation time of about 1.4 seconds is ideally ideal for ballrooms, for having good speech and intelligibility, and even for the music performance. So the music can't make much, but if it's a Sufi kind of a music, or if it's a ghazal and other things where the vocals is more important. So the reverberation time has to be, ideally it has to be about 1.4. The reverberation time of 1 to 1.2 seconds in meeting rooms now, that's again considered to be quite intelligible. 1.6 is recommended for good music performance spaces, and 0.4 to 0.6 in the recording studios. Echo is again attributed to the reverberation time. Echo is a reflection of sound as it's arriving at the listener sometime after the direct sound. So echoes are undesirable anyway in case of lecture halls, auditoriums, or any other place, because it reduces the intelligibility of the sound, particularly with the speech. Back wall of an auditorium or any lecture hall are designed to be highly absorbent to reduce the possibility of an echo. Surface absorption. This is equally important apart from the reverberation. Absorption helps again, to decrease the reverberation time, and it helps to some extent. It helps in the isolation also, and or the insulation also, and it gives more intelligibility. Speech intelligibility is more. Absorption refers to the sound waves by the material inside a room. Proper absorption in a room reduces echoes and increases speech intelligibility. This is how absorption happens. If you see the sound wave from the source, it's traveling, it's hitting the concrete floor, and then part of it's getting reflected, part of it is getting absorbed, and part of it may be even transmitted to other area. So whatever absorption happens there, so that will help in the speech intelligibility. The noise reduction coefficient, NRC as we normally term it, is a scalar representation of the amount of sound energy absorbed upon striking a particular surface. And NRC 0 indicates perfect reflection, and NRC of 1 indicates perfect absorption. Now NRC, noise reduction coefficient of 1, is an ideal, it's ideal, and whatever products are available as of date, they may be claiming 1, but normally it's termed in terms of 0.8 is also considered to be brilliant, or 0.9 is considered to be brilliant. So
your friend will like to disagree with you.
yeah.
No, I disagree with the fact of NRC itself.
Okay.
So I have a different thought about NRC.
All right, we'll have a discussion about that.
No, we'll have that discussion.
Sure. So these are the various materials, where the NRC, the reference NRC, for example, in a brick or unpainted wall, it's about 0.02, which is very low. And the carpets, it's 0.15 to 0.2. The drapery is 0.55. And in that terms, if you see fiberglass, it has more. It can be up to 0.9 or 0.2, which is quite high. Glass has again very low. Glass is it's a brittle, it's a totally reflective surface. It's 0.05 to 0.1, which again very low. So it's totally reflective. STC sound transmission class is an integer rating of how well a building partition attenuates the airborne sound. STC generally is termed in terms of the noise insulation or the isolation. It's derived from the sound attenuation values tested at 16 standard frequencies ranging from 125 Hz to 4000 Hz. It's dependent on properties like elasticity of the material used inside the building. It's termed in terms of, like, if we say STC 40, so it can withstand. So it can the noise which is traveling inside, so it can be reduced by approximately 40 dB. That's how in a layman's language, how we can term it, STC 40. Transmission loss is again accumulated decrease in the acoustic intensity as an acoustic pressure wave propagates outward from the source. As the acoustic wave propagates outward from the source, the intensity of the sound wave is reduced and with the increasing range due to spreading and attenuation. The next slide shows how this transmission loss is happening. This is the noise source. It's traveling through a wall, and then on the top of it, if you see the red one, so that is the noise through the direct path. So some part of it is being prevented from traveling across the wall, but some of it goes across the wall. Now, if the orange one is again, it's again the noise which is traveling through another source, which is again a flanking path. Maybe it can be a duct, or it can be even the false ceiling. Generally, when we create the partitions, so the partitions, we try to create it only up to the false ceiling level. Beyond that, it's open. So between the two rooms or between the two cabins, so that becomes a flanking path, and the noise easily travels from there. Now the green one is again noise through the slab. It can even travel through the slab. Part of it can go through the slab itself. And there can be a direct path, noise through the ceiling structure. As I told you, if the partition is not treated up till the slab level, so the noise can easily travel from there. So that's how the transmission loss happens, and the sound travels from one space to another. Acoustic matrix, this is again the table standards wherein we have different areas, like if you consider a hospitality sector in a hotel, guest rooms have the noise criteria of 25 to 35, NC 25 to NC 35, and STC should be greater than 50. AI should be 0.65. So these are the various standards for different areas which you can give. Apart from this, I would like to add a few more things. Earlier, since acoustics is a part which was totally ignored earlier, and with the result, we have come across various instances wherein the problems occurred after the properties were completed or even the finished. We have a number of examples wherein the owners of different properties, or maybe in hotels, different brand owners, they even complain about the acoustics, poor acoustics. The problem is that at the design stage, this is not being taken seriously. And sometimes even due to the cost which is attributed to it, the developers or the owners try to get away from this, and they think that, okay, we have taken some conventional measures for acoustics, which doesn't work in the later stage. So we will have to take this seriously, as my eminent architects, architect Bhagwa and architect Arora just said, that this has to be considered in the beginning, right from the inception of the project, and that's going to help, and we can have better acoustics designed since the beginning. Some of the questions, before commencement of work, the issues one can ask about it. What is the designed airflow? So when we are designing, so we should know what is the airflow velocity inside any particular space. So that's again a parameter which we consider when we design the acoustics, or even the return area, or what is the STC criteria followed at the design stage. Water flow in the plumbing is again a very important factor. We have a couple of hotels wherein the older hotels which have been built maybe about 10, 15, 20 years back, which are facing problems due to the plumbing noise, the gushing noise from the bathrooms, the toilets. So they have to completely now do a lot of acoustic work. So that's again a factor which we can't ignore. Similarly, when we're talking about projects like auditoriums, We have generally, we try to generally use a roof which can be a metal roof or maybe other asbestos kind of sheets and other things. And they do the conventional the paddings inside, which again doesn't work. When we are considering acoustics, there has to be a proper underdeck treatment below the roofs. You know, that helps. You know, suppose there's a function going on, there's a quiet function going on, and it suddenly rains or there's a hailstorm kind of a situation there. So that's the sound which can travel inside and create disturbance inside. Traffic noise, again, a very important factor. If you're talking about a club, what is the noise, ambient noise, differently from typical floor? Now, in a hotel, if we have a club or a nightclub there, so nightclub generates a lot of low frequencies because we use subwoofers there, and with the result that noise can travel from one place to the adjoining the other places. Not only that, the vibrations generated from the subwoofers, they can travel to the entire structure. So that's again an important factor which has to be considered. The guest rooms are again, guest rooms normally nowadays hotels consider that the noise criteria inside the guest room should not be more than NC 30, which is about 37 dB on the bill. So, which doesn't allow sound from traveling from one place to other. Flanking paths, as I just told you that, you know, even flanking paths can be anything from, it can travel from the ducts which are commonly used between the two rooms, or it can travel from if the false ceiling, if it's not isolated above the false ceiling also, the partition is not fitted. Can be through the vestibules, banquets, I just gave you an example. All the three going inside the ear, which creates a lot of distortion inside the brain, and the intelligibility goes down. People, you know, the listener can't understand what is exactly being said. Now, in the open office environment as of date, we have something like noise masking. For example, if they're on an open floor, we have about 100 people, and there are various groups. Maybe 8 people sitting on, they have a group, and they have their work tables, or maybe 10 people. Then again, you have a similar cluster of 10 people or 20 people. So we have something like noise masking, which can create a virtual kind of a wall in between those groups, and then accordingly, you know, it restricts to some extent. It restricts the sound traveling from one group to other group. So this is done by speakers and amplifiers which are being used. It can be even recessed inside the ceiling, and then that they generate a frequency by which we can create a virtual wall. Sound masking, if you see, sound masking is again there's a study which has been done on the sound masking, and the features of sound masking are speech privacy increased by about 50% in open plan office environments. Productivity increases from 13 to 20%. Average increase of up 175% in employee satisfaction. Reduced workplace stress levels. So financial models document a 300 to 500% return of interest ROI. And overall perception of a quieter work environment. This is an illustration which is the photograph shows that, you know, this yellow circle. So we can create a virtual wall inside inside this open area, and then that prevents the sound from traveling inside that virtual wall. Similarly, we can have different virtual walls created inside the entire hall. Now, although this is not related to this, but just to give you a brief, in the smarts, we are working on the smart city projects also. Smart city, again, Smart city. What is a smart city? Participative governance, efficient responsive administration, emergency readiness. Smart city, smart utilization services like water harvesting, localized STP, utilization of treated water for horticulture, and smart security, which includes surveillance and access control. So smart cities also, we have been working on smart city projects. We have just had a discussion with various people, who are in smart cities concept is increasing now. So again, the acoustics is very important. They're they're very particular about the noise criteria within the city or within the facilities we have. These are some of the references where we have already worked on acoustic projects. That's it from me.